Hello, everyone. Dr. Cheryl Dublar here, and this is your web system course. In this video, we'll talk about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So without further ado, we're going to discuss about what's the difference between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it's said in HTML, this is the structure, and in CSS, the presentation, and the JavaScript is the behavioral. So in your HTML, or it stands for Hypertext Markup Language, in where you create a structure, it controls the layout of your content, it provides structure for the web page design and the fundamental building blocks of any web page. So again, it's very clear that HTML is the fundamental building block of any web page, and you always start with HTML. And with the CSS, after you have the building blocks of your web pages, now you can proceed with the CSS, or it stands for Cascading Style Sheet. So as it, from the word itself, style, you'll be creating a style on your web page. Apply style to the web page by page elements, targets various screen sizes to make the web pages responsive, and it handles the look and feel of a web page. While your JavaScript, it increases the interactivity. Okay, so after you have the style in your CSS, now it's the adding an interactive to a web page. Now it could handle complex functions and features and programmatic code, which enhances the functionality. So that's the difference of this. Now let's go deeper with the difference of these three. So in your web pages, you will have the HTML. As I said, this is the content and structure. You have the headings, the paragraph, and the list. And then if you want to add the colors, background, and then that's under the CSS, you want to change the font. And to add more interactive, you make a widgets, user interaction, and an open pop-up, then it's on the JavaScript layer. Okay, so I'll just dive into HTML, okay, to go deeper into it. And HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. This is not a programming language, but it's a markup language. It's basically a standard markup language for building static web applications and websites. It is a well-standardized system that used for tagging text files to achieve the color, the graphics, the font effects, and the web pages. It's a constantly evolving language that can meet the demands of today's growing audience. So again, it evolves, and there are a lot of tutorials that could help you on to meet the demands of today's growing audience as it evolves. All right, so here is an example of an HTML document. So this is just so basic. So as you can see, you have the head, and it contains few predefined elements or tags, each of which means differently for a browser. So the main elements in HTML, which again contains two main elements, you have the head and the body. So element contains all necessary information which needs to be loaded, such as the style sheets, the meta tags, and before the main content, which is the body element. Now let's go to CSS, or it stands for Cascading Style Sheets, which is known as CSS. Again, this is the style of your web page, or it's a style sheet language that used to handle the presentation of the web page containing HTML. Okay, so after you build the structure, now let's go to the style. So it makes our websites beautiful and modern looking. It's just for all the visual effects, and with its new version, so one can also create simple animation too. Again, so in CSS, you can make some simple animation, and it makes your web page more attractive to the audience. So this is an inline CSS where CSS styling is doing an on HTML page. Just to give you a short example, okay? So as a cornerstone technology, CSS is used by millions of websites to create UI for web applications and for many mobile applications too. So let's take an example of CSS document. So as you can see, you have the head and you have the body from your HTML. Now, what is added in under CSS? So as you notice in the HTML document, now you have a new tag or the style, and it is inside the head. So this element contains all the CSS code and the further use in the element of the body. So as we have defined a selector of X, Y, Z, so in CSS and then referencing inside the paragraph or an element of the body. So in result, we will get an element content in blue color, okay? So there are many types of selector and their uses. This is just a demonstration, okay? So again, it's add style to your web page. Now in this example, we just add colors. Now let's go to your JavaScript. So JavaScript, which is often known as JS, we shortened it as a JS. It's a high-level dynamic interpreted programming language that allows client-side scripting to create completely dynamic web applications and websites. So it is a very lightweight prototype-based language which can easily run on the browser. So that is the good thing with JS or JavaScript. It's a very light prototype. And weakly typed prototype-based multi-paradigm is being a multi-paradigm weakly typed script. It can provide a brilliant power to your web page. So using JavaScript, you can put calculations, logical condition, and all programming functionality that you cannot do in CSS. So again, you're showing or you're making more interactive in your web page in your JavaScript. All right, so in your, again, so in here is an example of the JavaScript. All right, so var name, RSD Academy, var address. So it's more interactive compared to your CSLs. All right, so that's all for JavaScript. Now, again, let's sum it up, the difference in JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So let's consider a web page as a human body. Okay, now let's see what each of the language really do. So in HTML, it's a structural language that builds the structure of a website as the skeletal system form the structure of the human body. So we have the headings, the paragraph, images, text, all of the part of HTML creates the basic structure of the website. Now in CSS, it's a styling language that gives styling of a website. So with the help of the font color, the background color, and the wording styling, CSS furnishes the look of the site as the skin gives look of the human body. Okay, and lastly, the JavaScript is a programming language that gives motions and logics to the website. For example, a pop-up window alert, this is just like a motion of the human body. So that makes it more interactive. All right, so that's all for now, and thank you for watching.